gracias por acompañarnos. Pocas veces van a toparse con alguien como Audrey Tang, con quien vamos a hablar ahora. Audrey fue la primera ministra digital de un país a la vanguardia de la vida digital y del avance digital. Fue también y es una persona que se dedica buena parte de su tiempo a romper los moldes tecnológicos para encontrar la forma en la que todos vivamos mejor. Como ministra, lideró una experiencia ejemplar en la lucha contra el COVID y logró que los taiwaneses restauraran su confianza en el gobierno. ¿Cómo? Tratando de acercarlos a través de la tecnología. Estamos en un mundo donde las guerras se acumulan. Surgen nuevas guerras, las viejas guerras no se resuelven. La economía no retoma su ímpetu de otros años, de otras eras. Y la democracia, que hoy tiene un día clave, está en una encrucijada. Ella trata de buscar una intersección entre tecnología y democracia que haga que la forma en la que todos vivimos en todo el planeta gane en calidad y beneficio para todos. Así que los invito a acompañarme en esta charla con Audrey. Hello, Audrey. How are you doing?
Hi, hello. Very happy to meet you virtually. Can you see and hear me?
Thank you. Audrey, the world is changing quite rapidly. Technology accelerates that change, and there are also many conflicts erupting. I wonder what's your view on the world and how technology works for or against resolving those conflicts?
That's a great question. In a book that I co-wrote with almost 100 people now, called Plurality, plurality.net is the website. We talked about technologies that have an adverse effect against democratic liberal democracies because they could be centralizing, like AI. If not designed well, it will just absorb power to single entities, like singularity. But we do not want that. We want plurality, which is also technology, but one that fosters human connection and see the conflict not as something that one side will erase the other side or gain advantage over the other side in a zero-sum game, but as a way to discover the common ground, the co-creation from the polarized sides, depolarizing it by seeing the conflict as energy sources that we can then create policies from. This is what we have been doing in Taiwan since 10 years ago, when the trust level was just 9%, very polarized, to 2020, when the trust level was beyond 70% to our democratic administration.
One concept that's quite important in your work is digital democracy. I wonder if you could walk us through the basics of digital democracy so we can all learn about it.
Definitely. Digital democracy means using internet to enhance democratic processes, making them more inclusive, more transparent, more participatory. For example, just this March, we held an online citizens assembly called the Alignment Assembly to talk about how to counter deepfakes, crypto scams on social media, and so on. Doing so, we sent 200,000 SMS text messages to random numbers in Taiwan. And it's all coming from 111, the official number, so people know it's not scam. And in the SMS, we just ask, how do you feel about information integrity online? And people contributed their thoughts. And we also ask, would you like to spend a long afternoon, almost an entire day, on an online conversation with 9 other people? And many people signed up. And then we say, okay, this is 450 people randomly selected to be a microcosm of Taiwanese society. And they deliberated in rooms of 10 people each, 45 rooms, and co-created in real time using AI to synthesize their ideas. One of the first laws in the world that makes the platform assume full liability of the scams if they do not do their KYC, digital signature well in the advertisement, among many things. The draft law was sent out in May, passed in July, and is now already in effect. So it allows democracy to work as quickly as the technological advances.
You're speaking about digital democracy in countries where technology or the technological coefficient is quite high. What happens with digital democracies in countries where access to technology is not as high, education is not as highly, it's not qualified. So how do you reach that level of digital democracy in countries that are quite underdeveloped?
Well, we talked about SMS, and we talk about maybe toll-free numbers. Many countries have SMS and toll-free numbers. To be more precise, the digital democracy idea is not that everybody needs to adapt to how technology works in websites, keyboard, mouse, touchpads, and so on. It is making sure that technology serves the community by helping the helpers. So even community radio or public kiosk or just a recording device for the community meetings, all these are also part of digital democracy. But you touch about education. I think that is the most important. In Taiwan, we ensure broadband as a human right. But even more importantly, we made sure that in primary school, in high schools, it's not just data literacy or media literacy, which is consuming. We made sure we have data competence, media competence, which is the students contributing to fact-checking, contributing to measuring air qualities, or water qualities, contributing to have citizens' initiatives, starting petitions even before they turn 18. That has a real impact. For example, banning the plastic straw of the boba, bubble tea takeouts, and so on. And so I think it is not just technology, but also the ability for government to fully trust the people, especially the young people, as they're still learning to set an agenda for democracy.
You speak about trust, trust in the government, trust in the citizens, but what about trust in technology? Technology is gradually coping, like getting into every single part of our life. How do we learn to trust technology and at the same time make that enrich our lives?
Well, to give no trust is to get no trust. So the first step is for the technologists to trust the people, trust the citizens. And one way to express this trust is through open technologies. I don't just mean open source, but also open standards, but also public code, meaning that an open conversation about the role of technologies to play in the public sector. Again, we used citizens' assemblies to ask people, like, how should public sector use AI? What kind of role should AI play? What is the code of conduct, like a constitutional document for AI? And then we fine-tune AI to fit into that particular narrow role. Without this kind of co-creation, without this kind of open audit and so on, there is no way to ask people to simply blindly trust the technologies. So the technologists have to express trust first by allowing for open remixes, open auditing, and also open collaboration.
In your book, Plurality, you speak about autocracies and technology, and you also say that technologies can help foster and build support for autocracies. Is there a way to prevent that use, sort of malign use of technology?
Certainly. I think the more open the technologies are, the more ideas will come from the people actually using it. The more closed, the more opaque the technologies are, the more do the person wielding the technology will gain power over the people using it. And so I think one of the best ways to prevent autocracies from abusing technology is to make sure that everybody can understand how to remix the technology, how to make sure that technology serves our ethical considerations, and also bake those ethical considerations into the designing of such technologies, which is why civil society should be actively involved in the conversation about how technology is used, and so that the checks and balances are from the people, not just from one or two governmental officials. If only a few technocrats understand how to keep the technologies in check, that's very dangerous. But if everybody knows how to keep the technologies in check, that makes it less likely to be abused.
Well, in Taiwan, you were part of a revolt that kind of tried to stop certain autocracy-leaning tendencies. But today, we're in a world where autocracies are growing. So is technology. So isn't there a bit of, is it a bit of an utopia, what you're saying, what you're planning?
Well, I think the autocracies of the world, they have a message that says democracy only leads to chaos. Democracy only leads to distrust. Democracy never delivers. And if the fellow democracies buy into that message and polarize among ourselves and hate each other and so on, then that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then digital democracy will sound like a utopia, and then people will just backslide. And in Taiwan, we refuse to accept that. Just like in 2020, the world was saying, oh, you have to lock down entire cities. You have to do surveillance. You have to make sure that people do not go outside in order to counter the pandemic. But we managed to overcome the pandemic even better by making sure that we use privacy-preserving contact tracing so that people do not sacrifice on their privacy or freedom to move, but yet can receive notifications when there is community outbreak. And this technology, open source, is created by the human rights activists and the civic technologists. It's the government's role to adopt such citizen technologies. So again, if we make sure that we go beyond the trade-offs, if we deploy platforms that take polarized society and then agree on something, then democracy advances and people become less likely to backslide into autocratic ideas.
You speak about open sources, and open sources make room also for misinformation. And in a way, misinformation is stalking polarization. So how do you kind of wall democracies against that?
In Taiwan, we have this idea called collaborative fact-checking. So in an open society, each and every one of us can be a fact-checker. And in Taiwan, indeed, we have an ecosystem of like Trend Micro, GoGoLook, the leading antivirus companies working with the instant messaging, Line, and so on, so that if you see a piece of misinformation, you can just long press that and donate that piece of information to the open source database at Cofacts. And this system has been adopted in Thailand, among other countries. And so people can see the most trending disinformation and misinformation and real-time clarify that by training a language model together. And the AI provides a critical thinking. And then anyone, including very young people, can contribute to the ideas that balances this misinformation. The same idea has been adopted as community nodes on YouTube, on X.com, and so on. The idea is that the nodes that speaks broadly to both sides of polarization gets prominently displayed. So even people who are polarized see that we can actually agree on a set of basic facts. The more people participate, like jury duty and so on, it is the process of thinking like a journalist that inoculates people against polarization. It is not just to check facts, but also the journey of working with people who are very different from you and then manage to agree on something together. So combining collaborative fact-checking with pre-bunking, which is before something goes very viral, we just made sure that we tell people that the actual situation is this, you can check this real-time open data, this visualization and so on, so that people see through the information manipulation. And after a while, then the misinformation backfires. It does not actually achieve the desired effect to polarize society, but rather unifies the society because people can see, oh, there are actually people doing information manipulation to our society, and we need to defend against that no matter which party we believe in.
Thank you, Audrey. I'm going to take you a bit farther on the interplay of technology and government and democracy. Do you see in artificial intelligence governing cities, countries, regions?
Sorry, the question was how cities, regions
No,
could
if you can see like
using AI to govern.
No, can you see artificial intelligence per se being like the ruler of a city, of a country, of a region, a province?
I see what you mean. In a sense, the bureaucracy, the institutions that we build is already a kind of artificial intelligence. But if you're talking about using data-driven machine learning models in the way of governing, then I would say for sure, as long as it has the same explainability, it can explain its decisions, the same steerability, like if people see something wrong, a decision that affects them, they can appeal it and change it in a real-time way, then I don't see why not. The current challenge is that the tools to audit, to steer, and to test for safety, these tools are themselves not as mature as the capability of the generative AI models. So we need to double down on investment into the safety and alignment infrastructure, making sure that this is open source because this is a common good and people can audit and trust that. Once we have that scaffolding, then the more and more we trust the safety and alignment scaffolding, the better we can then put some assistive decisions or co-pilot decisions into those machine learning models. So this is a complementary process. The more the ideas of the machine learning models can be steered by the people, the more people can trust it to help making some decisions.
Thank you, Audrey. One last question because we're finishing right here. You're a whiz in technology. What's the next frontier technology other than quantum computing, artificial intelligence, or synthetic biology? What are we to expect for the coming decades?
Well, in the short term, I expect extended reality technologies to mature to a degree where instead of these two-dimensional images of each other, we can really feel that we are in the same room. This should be mature within a decade, even shorter. But longer than that, I would also imagine that not just immersing in the same shared reality, but also sharing some of our feelings as well. And this is not just telepathy or things like that, but also all the different ways that we can immerse in the nonverbal parts of communication, not just the verbal parts of communication. In the Plurality book, we talk about the virtual kind of intimacy and shared reality and how that can foster understanding and empathy that goes beyond polarization.
Audrey, it's been quite a nice talk, very rich for us, and we're going to learn a lot from your words. Thank you so much for joining us here in Argentina. Next time we talk, we'll be together, me or you as a hologram.
Thank you. Live long and prosper.
Bye-bye. Muchísimas gracias. Espero que hayan tenido una pequeña chispa del futuro en esta charla con Audrey. Gracias.